Hi there, thank you for joining us for another episode of Chakotay's Odyssey featuring the adventures of Janeway.
You
I'm
came up
one
with
of,
that, not
I'm
me.
one of your hosts, Gregory Bear, and this is my lovely wife, Christine.
Hi, everybody.
Our special guest star is being a little bit uncooperative right now,
Yeah.
but sometimes that's what talent is like. They can be difficult to work with, apparently.
She's in zoomy mode right now.
She might come and join us, if not. Anyway, so this is our segment where we talk about Star Trek Voyager, which I believe is your favorite Star Trek show.
No,
And
it
this
is not.
So this episode we are reviewing Season 1, Episode 3, Parallax, which
Yeah,
came out in, when did this come out at
a
all?
long time ago.
January of 1995.
Oh my gosh.
So this explains why it's a shorter season for the first season, is because it came halfway through the season. It was a pickup. And maybe they rushed it, who knows. So this episode, it starts right off with our main man, Chakotay, Commander Chakotay now. And he's walking down the hall with Tuvok. You know, the most boring man in this galaxy is Tuvok. And so both of them are walking down the hallway, West Wing style, talking towards the camera, and they're arguing about B'Elanna, because apparently she broke some guy's nose, and then it jumps to them afterwards. It jumps to him in the medical bay, being treated by Robert Picardo.
She broke her boss's nose, is the idea.
But they haven't really appointed a new chief engineer yet. They have to appoint all these new positions because they lost a lot of people.
That's the controversy. He wants her to be chief engineer, even though they are criminals and they shouldn't even have jobs on this ship at this time. It's only the second real episode. And anyway,
but the Voyager crew, they need them to help out.
They don't need them. They have 100 people on the ship from Starfleet already. It's so stupid.
Maybe they need 200 people. And as we established in our last segment that we talked about this is probably the D team. They just got a bunch of graduating class.
No, they don't, though.
And it's the D students.
No, it's not.
So they're not really doing that great. So they need some help.
They're not the D. They're not. This is so silly. This whole episode, it's jumping right in basically the second episode. The first one was 2 parts.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, Chakotay is the VP of the ship. And now
he's the XO.
And now this other one who's also a criminal, Maquis, is going to be number 3 on the ship. This makes no sense at all.
No, it does make sense because they need better crew members and they need to replace the ones they lost. So Chakotay, we find out in this episode, he was a not only did he go to Starfleet and graduate, he was a captain in the Federation. And then he left. He's like, I ain't doing this anymore. I don't believe in the Federation. Remember, we talked about last time, they were xenophobic towards
all the other people on the ship also went to Starfleet and actually got their jobs for a reason.
But they're all green.
No,
except
they're not.
Except for a few of the officers.
They're not green. This is the point.
They act pretty green.
No, it would make sense if they were green, but they're not green. The only one that's green is Harry Kim. And all of a sudden in this episode, he's one of the high-ranking officers.
Well, he's at the officers meeting. So they're having this officers meeting.
Sense. And Tom Paris, who's also a criminal, is one of the
he's a lieutenant now.
5 head officers. Harry Kim, who just graduated school, and Tom Paris, who just got his job for standing there.
And just got out of prison, too.
And then Chakotay, who's
pretty
also
good
a
job
criminal.
for an ex-con.
And then, so Tuvok and Janeway are the only 2, really, that should be in that meeting. And then this Neelix guy comes in, and he's like a complete goofball.
Yeah, so that was supposed to be funny. Neelix
he's like
and Cass, his wife or girlfriend, we don't know yet. They bust in and they're like, "We're here for the meeting. We wouldn't have been late, but no one told us it was happening."
But they invite them in, and this is what's wrong.
And Janeway's like,
so wrong.
"Why would you be here? This is for officers only."
But she says, "Come on in." There's really problems here with the whole thing. Anyway, they find this kind of strange nebula. This is what the whole episode's about.
Yeah, they're
And
driving along.
They see a reflection of themselves, and they think it's another ship, and they try to save it.
You're skipping over the fact they're driving along in warp drive, and they just run it. They just like run into it.
No.
I mean, we're spoiling this for this show from 1995.
No, that's not
28 years
what
old.
happens. They're going along, and they hear a distress signal. That's what happens. Then they come out of war and they see this nebula and there's a ship being sucked into it. So they try to rescue it. Mm-hmm. And then later on we find out that it's actually them and it's a reflection of them. Mm-hmm. Now in that meeting, another meeting of the top officers apparently, but Harry Kim's not in that one. Makes no sense. And neither is Neelix.
Maybe they were busy.
They try to explain what's happening, and Tom Paris asks a very good question, which the audience would be asking: is how could we have heard a recording of ourselves before we even got there? And they basically say he's foolish. Oh no, it's cause and effect. That's not the right answer.
That's not what they do. They make up some pseudoscience. So he asked a legitimate question. What's that actor's name? Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
And so he asked a legitimate question at this officers' meet, which now includes Neelix and Cass, like two of the useless people they got on the ship. And so he asked this question. They just make up some pseudoscience. It's like, oh, we can just explain this away with this dumb theory and this.
It's cause and effect, which makes no sense.
Like quantum mechanic nonsense.
The whole thing makes no sense. He says it makes no sense, and that's really what's happening. Anyway, it's silly. It's really silly. They go through a bunch of weird science, and her and Blanator's get all giddy, finishing each other's sentences about the science. And then all of a sudden at the end of the episode, B'Elanna, who's very violent and is beating people up and is also a criminal, is all of a sudden got the top job in this.
But so is Chakotay. He's a criminal too, technically. But remember, he's just a mercenary for hire after he was a captain in the Federation.
That up. He's not a mercenary for hire. You're making that
up. We're making this show better as we go.
No, he's not.
They haven't said he wasn't.
They did explain where he came from. You're just not
paying attention. Said this episode that he was a captain before and that he went through the Federation.
The reason why
you're remembering other episodes that are past this, but we haven't seen it yet.
The reason why he's in the Maquis is because they invaded his home world and he hates the Cardassians. That's why.
Yeah, we established that last episode.
No, you keep on saying he's a mercenary for hire. No, he's not.
He is. Well, he's not really into it, okay? Because he is a mercenary for hire, and he's really cool under pressure.
Character.
Remember, even in this episode, he gets angry with who's he get angry with?
He
Tuvok?
doesn't get angry ever.
Yeah, but he got angry with Janeway because Janeway is like, listen, this is my ship. You don't disregard me or make judgments or calls without my approval first.
Listen, this episode should have taken place in the second season when the Maquis have somehow proven themselves that they can be trustworthy after a whole year of wearing orange jumpsuits and lifting cargo here and there.
I agree with that.
It doesn't make any sense, and it's just again. Everybody's welcome here. Come on in the love circle.
Yeah, that's why I'm writing a better story.
It's so silly. It's so silly. And the science of it is really wacky in this episode. And they have not tachyon beams, but what was it? Dechion beams.
Dechion beams. They said, we got to pull this thing out. The first thing I thought of was tractor beam. And then they're like,
it doesn't make
sense.
Like,
we need a special type of beam. Dechion beam?
The science is bad.
Some dumb writer came up with that on the spot, probably on set.
This thing that's eating our ship. Anyway, it's pretty lame. And again, it's all happy, joy. Like everybody's just like holding hands and we're all one big team here. And the people that actually did go through Starfleet and have their jobs legitimately are being replaced by these criminal people, which makes no sense at all.
That lieutenant in engineering, what was his name again? Do you remember?
I don't know.
I don't know. He was kind of a dick.
Doesn't matter. This woman is really angry, and she's if they're part of Starfleet, the Maquis are to be imprisoned. They're radicals. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so again, we see that if you are a rogue element, you're going to get a great job on this ship. And everyone that has worked for their position gets is secondhand citizen. It makes no sense.
End of the day, she did get them out at the end of the episode. It was her idea to get them out. The other guy's idea wouldn't have worked.
It doesn't matter. It was really poor, and like she's the only one that knows this stuff. These people are supposed to be highly educated, and they don't know anything. It's only her. It doesn't make any sense.
One of the things I remembered when I was watching this episode, I remembered one of my big complaints when I originally watched this episode decades ago now was when you get B'Elanna and Janeway in the same room together. And they're getting along. To me, they start acting like 14-year-old girls.
That's what I said. They're finishing each other's sentences.
Yeah, they're finishing each other's sentences, and there's really not a breath in between what they say. They're just so excited, and they're just acting like...
It's really lame, and she didn't need B'Elanna. She could figure it out herself. She figured it all out, apparently, and it's just like she's agreeing with B'Elanna. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So again, really bad writing. There's great potential for the show to be good, but the writing is really poor, and maybe it was rushed because it came out of the year. I don't know, but there's definitely it's not holding up the way that the previous. I mean, yeah, they're making up all this stuff, tacking on whatever. They're making all this stuff up, yes, in the warp core and everything, but it just doesn't match.
The warp core looked pretty good. We saw it for the first time this episode. It looked pretty good for mid-90s.
Well, yes, the warp core is the thing. That's on the lower decks.
I'm saying the set looked good. And so does the bridge deck. All the sets look good.
The music is nice. The beginning looks nice. The set looks nice. But it's the writing and the story. The actors are good.
The actors are doing the best with what they got.
Annoying. Now, the only good thing about this episode is the Doctor again. He is the only good thing about the show. And he's funny. And in this episode, something happens to him and he gets shrunk.
His holographic program
they don't explain
malfunctions, and there's some funny jokes with him. It's not the best effects, but you gotta remember it's mid-90s.
But we also
it was still a funny joke.
We also don't get an explanation, which I think we should have, on why he's such an a-hole. We don't have an explanation for that.
I was thinking that as he was talking to Kes, there was a good scene involving Kes.
It was good. She
and
says
the Doctor.
He's sensitive, and he's not. He's really nasty. And
he's sensitive about himself.
I guess.
Because he shrunk.
We need an explanation as to
at first he shrunk 10 centimeters and he got all upset about that. So he's very sensitive about his appearance.
That he has this attitude, but it doesn't make sense why he does, and no one seems to be wondering this.
Mm-hmm.
Why their doctor program is just like the computer in the ship. Why it has such a very sarcastic. Not very good bedside manner.
He said he was programmed by 47 medical care physicians. So these could be like the top of their class, but they have no bedside manner. These are the specialists.
I like the Dr. Care. I think he's the only interesting character on there. But I think at that point they could have really explained it, and they don't. I think it was really not cohesive what goes on there. Anyway. Yeah, it just, what a ruined opportunity with the beautiful sets. They have everything together, and yet they write a really lame episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people really needed to be looking at this and saying, this is not holding up. Yeah. This is not of the same quality as our previous two shows.
Okay. Any other complaints about this episode?
No, that's it. That's all I have to say about that one.
I had a fun time with it, even though it didn't make sense. So as I'm watching it, I'm just rewriting it so it makes sense. So it starts off with B'Elanna. She's busted the guy's nose, but really he's a D student and she's way better than him at her job. And yeah, she needs to learn some control and not be so disrespectful.
Well, she's a college dropout. I don't see why she should be
that was the other thing. We found out that she said that she dropped out because it wasn't the place for her. Because she was always arguing with her professors, and so she was really smart, and she was arguing and challenging them all the time. So I don't think it was a grades thing. She says it wasn't the place
She
for
didn't
me. You know what? She got into trouble on campus.
She
At
didn't
Starfleet Academy campus.
courses though, like you know, and I know going to school, if someone never finishes, they don't know the material.
Yeah.
So why does she know the material? It makes no sense.
Because she's really smart.
Well, you can be smart. There's a lot of smart people out there, but they don't necessarily know how to put a car together.
No, I'm telling you,
It doesn't make sense.
She did good in school, but she probably dropped out even though she had amazing grades because she's super smart and capable, but she dropped out because she was causing problems on campus.
This is very specific stuff they need to know
telling
about
ya.
these warp cores.
I'm going to say it right now. We haven't found out the full backstory about B'Elanna Torres yet, but I think she was whoring around on campus, and then she had to leave because she was a really good student, but then it was like too much drama outside the classroom.
No, it's because she's half Klingon and she has rage issues.
Yeah, she does. Maybe it was a racism thing too, but
no, that's not. You're making stuff up. You're making me so mad.
You're
making stuff up.
Yeah, we're making it better.
No, we're not making it better. This is what it is. She already said she has rage issues because she's part Klingon.
Mm-hmm.
So she just needed to probably take some like psych classes or something.
But
and she
because she's so good at it, she's the best one for the chief engineering job because they need a new chief engineer. So Chakotay wants her to be in charge, but Janeway doesn't want that. And Chakotay, he's just cool under pressure. There's only one time when Janeway makes him mad, he's still really cool under pressure.
He's so boring.
This guy knows what he's doing.
Why him and all of a sudden like Kim and Paris are the chief head officers? Like this makes no sense.
Because those are the best people they got.
No, they're not. No. Harry Kim literally just graduated school.
Yeah, and still, that's the best person they got on the ship. Everyone else on the ship is less skilled than him.
That doesn't make any sense. Also, he's not supposed to be super skilled. That doesn't make sense.
But all the other crew members just die, so that doesn't seem like they're very good.
130 of them or something.
Yeah, and they're the ones that always die whenever they get into a fight.
What would have made more sense? This is what they should have done. Is they had Janeway on a ship with some students and they're doing some kind of practice thing, and then they get pulled into the array and they meet these Maquis.
How do you
and
know that isn't what happened?
Because it isn't what happened. That would have made a lot more sense. Then they would need these people. They don't need these people, but yet they're somehow like promoting them and celebrating them.
I told you, it's because they got all these D students that just graduated. So that's why they need these Maquis people.
You're making it up. Harry is the only one that just got on the ship. We see him. He's the first. He just gets on the ship. All these other people are already there. You're just making it up.
You're not understanding my point.
You're making me mad.
When it comes to the Federation, how many ships does the Federation have in their fleet?
What does that have?
They got a lot of ships, right? So that means, essentially it's an interstellar space navy is what it is.
And
which means
we've learned before and many times that it's very hard to get in Starfleet, it's very hard to graduate, and it's very hard to get a job.
Yeah,
the people that are on this ship are
but at
supposed
the
to be
same time,
trained.
how many people do they need for each one of those ships?
Well, it looks like they only need 5 people on this ship.
No,
anyway,
they have over 100.
It's really lame. Anyway, I don't want to talk about it anymore.
So
let's just finish
say they need a couple hundred people per ship.
They
got over 100 ships. That's a lot of recruits you got to get. So
what are you saying? You're not making any sense.
I'm saying that you're going to have people that graduate at the top of their class, and they're going to the Enterprise, right? And then maybe you got the B team, and they're going to Deep Space Nine. But this is the D team, okay? They don't get the fancy ships. They're on Voyager. I mean, it's a small, pretty pathetic ship. So they get assigned to this.
Why are you making this up? It is supposed to be the most cutting edge ship they have. They've already said that.
No, I'm pretty sure this version makes more sense.
That
so
is not what
you got
happened,
Chakotay
though.
there, and she needs him because he's the captain with all the experience who used to be in Starfleet, so he knows the discipline. He's cool as a cucumber all the time, even when he's mad.
Boring.
So this is the best guy, and he's also the one who can keep his former Maquis crew members in line. He has the best chance because they respect him. I do agree with you that they should not be in Starfleet uniforms at all. I think they should have saved that until second season.
They should be in orange jumpsuits, down like monkeys.
No, but they can't do
loading
that.
crates.
They're in the Delta Quadrant.
Anyway, okay, I'm done talking about this. I'm done you making up what really happened in the episode. That's not what happened.
No, I'm fixing it. So with all these problems on the ship, they're flying along at, somewhat, they're not maximum warp, but they're flying along warp speed. And what do? They fly right into this anomaly in space.
No, that's not what happened. They get a distress call.
No,
and
they
go and answer it.
They dropped out of warp.
To answer the distress
So they
call
fly into
that is
it,
from themselves.
And there's this anomaly, which is a distress call, which ends up being from them before they even sent the distress call.
Which Tom Paris says doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he's absolutely right.
Yes, and they make up some BS saying
Meanwhile,
it's cause and effect.
Neelix and Kes are trying to make themselves know it, and they're trying to give Kes a purpose here by making her grow vegetables on a hydroponic farm in a cargo bay. But how did she come up with this idea?
They would already have that there, and they don't have it makes no sense.
How
and
would
all of a
she
sudden
have
the
those
replicators
skills?
are broken. She doesn't have any
No,
skills.
she was the most accomplished one of these.
Yeah,
she was the most accomplished one of these Star Trek elves because she escaped. Yeah, and that shows she's the most accomplished one.
That doesn't mean she knows how to grow anything. That was the problem with those people. They knew how to do nothing. It makes no sense. I'm sure everyone in there had some kind of biology degree. They could all plant something.
Maybe she's spending all her time in the holodeck learning this stuff.
She's
going to school.
No, she's not. Anyway.
Also, are they allowed to use the holodeck, or has that been restricted yet? Because I think at some point they have. No, we haven't, but they have one. However, I know they have to restrict usage because of power concerns.
They're trying to
so people only get a certain number of holodeck hours a week.
They have said that they can't use the holodeck power because it's on a separate system and it's not compatible with the rest of the ship. That's all they said about it. But probably it has some, holodecks are very dangerous. Who knows what's going to happen in the future. Anyway.
So I end up with this weird thing where they're trying to get away from this anomaly, but they can't because they already flew into it.
They never really explain what the anomaly
and they have to get out.
But the problem with this anomaly is that they're in a part of space that Neelix knows very well. He says, 2 kilometers down the road, there's this other planet. But he's never heard of this anomaly. They never ask him about it.
Maybe it's new.
It's just bad writing.
Maybe he took a different route.
No, it's not. He says they're just behind us. There. We have this
all they're doing is they just applied the shortest course to the Alpha Quadrant.
No, he claims that he knows all this space and everything, but then they run into this thing that he has nothing to say about, and they don't ask him about it either. It's just so poorly written.
Yeah, he was busy helping Kes.
It's just so poorly
written. Weren't you paying attention?
Anyway, okay. Can we end this now? No, I'm so sick of talking about it.
No, we're not done here, okay?
I'm done.
Okay?
I'm done
We're not done at all. Because Chakotay stands up to Janeway, and in the end, he's like, yeah, you're right, but he's also right too. Okay? They're both of them are, and they come to a compromise.
Have a leg to stand on.
They come to a compromise. B'Elanna becomes the chief engineer because she's the one who comes up with the idea to get them out.
And the first one came up with the same idea.
No, she just confirmed it. I noticed that in the episode. Typical boss. As soon as B'Elanna comes up with this pseudoscience, we're going to use a Dechion beam. Which, bad writing from a writer on set came up with that day. Anyway, she comes up with this, but they have to go in a shuttle. And then they're looking at Tom Paris and you're the best pilot. And he's like, I don't want to do this. And it goes to Janeway, and here's what I noticed. She's like, I think the same thing. Typical boss. She's taking credit for her work. But she's yeah, I think the same thing. It's really my idea.
It also makes no sense. If the ship is being sucked into the nebula and it's trying to resist it, why would you send a shuttle even closer where the shuttle doesn't have any power? It would just get totally sucked into it.
It just has impulse power.
It would get totally sucked into it. Anyway, the whole thing.
But that's all they're using on the ship is impulse power. That's not a plug hole.
Putting a wedge in the doorway to open this hole. It's just bad.
Yeah. So Tom Paris gets out of this, lucky him. So B'Elanna goes with Janeway in the shuttle. Because remember, it's the adventures of Janeway. Chakotay's not really having adventures. He's just cool all the time. Cool and, non-emotional. He's stoic a lot of the time. So they go, and they're having another one of their girl moments again. They're fighting for a bit, but then they're, once again, they're finishing each other's sentences, and I'm like, oh, jeez.
It's really...
Come on, what is this? Do women talk that way like that?
It's really kumbaya again.
Do you talk like that with a lot of other women? You're finishing each other's sentences? I'm like, what is this?
Anyway.
They just met.
Yes, and also they have Harry Kim talking to his superior officer like he's his golf buddy in this episode as well. That's the other problem. Who was he talking
to? Tuvok?
Yeah. He's walking down the hall talking to him like he's known him forever, telling him rumors and stuff. He would not be talking to his superior officer.
Maybe it's been a couple of weeks since the first 2 episodes, and they've formed a strong bond. I mean, you gotta make friends on the ship.
Strong bond with Tuvok.
You gotta make friends on the ship because
sense. They have these random marquee people. They don't have... The cast doesn't make sense. The jobs they're doing doesn't make sense. Their roles don't make sense.
You do see Chakotay, because after he has his spat with Tuvok, and Tuvok's just, I don't care, even though Chakotay's kind of reaming him out a bit near the beginning. And then Chakotay has a conversation with his Maquis crew, 2 of them, but they're both in Starfleet uniforms, but they're plotting.
Like I'm saying, they're all instead of orange jumpsuits.
What's it called? They're plotting a mutiny, right?
They've given them all jobs and said, "Welcome, like let's hold hands and join our love circle."
So it's interesting that these guys are like, "Let's mutiny. You give the word, we're with you." And he reams them out.
They should all be in a prison cell at this point.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're trustworthy.
No,
but
it doesn't make any sense.
Chakotay is trustworthy.
Okay, can we stop talking about it now? Because it's even making me more mad as we talk about it.
Why does this make you so mad? We're fixing this episode.
We're not fixing it. We're talking about what happened, and it's just lame. And Chakotay is extremely lame. Anyway, that's all.
At the end of the day, they got out of the anomaly that they flew into by accident. B'Elanna becomes the new chief engineer, but she does learn some humility. She actually has to say please to her staff, and she has to make up with the guy she punched in the face and broke his nose. So that's a nice moment.
The please moment didn't make sense. If you're in the military and you're a commanding officer, you don't say please to your subordinates. You give them a command and they do it. You don't need to say please.
Yeah, but you do also...
Because they literally don't act until she says please, and then they start to do
She does have to earn their respect, too.
Well, anyway.
So it's not just that. So you add a little bit more of a human touch. I understand. It's written by Hollywood writers, okay? So they're not going to make it too...
Yeah, I know, but up until this point, like, the other series were much more... We didn't have these problems.
Mm-hmm.
This is just really... Yeah, it's poor, it's rushed. It's just unfortunate.
Maybe it is because it was a half season.
It is unfortunate.
Anyway. Know. So, who stood out to you the most in this episode?
Who's my favorite character again? No. The Doctor.
However, Tom Paris was really smart in this episode. You said so yourself with his questions and be like, does that really make sense? Or is that nonsense?
They say maybe I'm crazy, and they kind of confirm that, yes, you are crazy, Tom Paris. Even though he's pointing out the complete obvious.
Was he your standout for this episode?
No, I like the Doctor. He's the only one I like.
Okay, and the funny joke of him shrinking.
Well, it's just he's such a jerk. And he's supposed to be a caring doctor person. It just, and that also doesn't make sense, but I still enjoy him.
We also learned that he doesn't have a name.
Yeah, he's EMH medical program.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, he doesn't, but I mean, the Doctor is fine. Seemed like Doctor Who, that's the whole joke of Doctor Who, because he's the Doctor and everyone says Doctor Who.
Did Robert Picardo like doing this role, do you know?
I don't know, but he has fun with everything. He's in everything. He was just in NCIS.
He did reprise his role. He was in Star Trek First Contact.
He was also... He's been in all kinds of things. He was in Stargate Atlantis. And he was in the Orville as well. I just saw him in NCIS. He was in NCIS episode like last month. Anyway, he's always having... I think he enjoys his job. Anyway.
Okay. You saw episode 3 of season 3 for Picard this week. We talked about that on our episode, which is posted now. Would you say episode 3 of Picard was better than this episode of Voyager?
Yes. Episode 3 of Picard is up there for me with some of the great Star Trek episodes.
Okay. I don't know because I'm not watching it.
It's really, really good. It's super, like this show, if only they would have written it properly. The Starcraft Picard has been
There's Fluffy
really
Kitty
good.
for you.
What just happened in the last episode especially. It's really, really good. Anyway, well, let's sign off on this.
What do you guys think of Star Trek Voyager as we continue Chakotay's Odyssey featuring the adventures of Janeway? We're enjoying this, as you can tell. And so you said it...
Stop making stuff up about it.
Okay. You're enjoying...
That's not what happened. People are going to think that's what happened. The things are saying because they're not going to watch it.
You're enjoying the Doctor. I'm really enjoying Commander Chakotay.
You have a bromance with him. I think you have a crush on him.
He's being cool under all
dull
circumstances.
He's so dull. Anyway,
let us know what you guys think of Star Trek Voyager. If you got thoughts on this particular episode or not, we want to hear from you. Leave a comment down below, and you can always like and subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, we post these videos all the time. There's more content.
Unfortunately for me.
And next time we'll be watching episode 4 of season 1 of Voyager. It's called Time and Again.
Okay.
And we're gonna go back to your favorite character there, Janeway. And my favorite character is, I don't know.
You
the
love
Doctor's pretty good.
Chakotay. You like a Chakotay fan.
Sure. Okay. Take care.
Bye.